Hi, I'm Jeff Gonzalez, president of Trident Concepts, and today I'm here with AR15.com in beautiful Riverly Peak Ranch out in Central Texas. And today we're going to be talking to you about solo clearing. What is it, first of all? Solo, as the name implies, is by yourself. Clearing references moving through a structure or moving past a structure where you have to manage all of the dangers, all of the potential dangers that you can expect. Now, typically when we do this, and I say we, me and my former life, we worked in a team setting. And the team setting allowed us to have overlapping fields of fire, which gave us a much safer environment to move in because I could move knowing that my partner would have my back. When you're by yourself, you don't have that luxury. And you quickly figure out that there are so many danger areas looking at you, and you can only look in one direction. So all of that to say, if you don't have to do it, it's probably a good idea that you not. So what are some reasons that you might have to do it? Well, let's just say that you're in your home and you hear some sort of disturbance in the middle of the night. Now your purpose for movement is, in a sense, urgent because you're moving to either investigate that disturbance or you're moving to safeguard the rest of your family, right? So there's a sense of urgency in that movement. Others might be, for instance, maybe you come home and you notice that your front door is open. Now, you didn't leave the door open, but you recognize the door is open. So now the urgency is a little bit lower. Do I need to go in? Maybe, maybe not. If you stop and do a quick little, listen to see if you can hear anything inside, maybe you find out that there is some disturbances inside and you can kind of take that on as information and make a decision. Well, I'm going to back off, call the police, or I'm going to go ahead and move in, but I'm going to do so in a manner that allows me to be as safe as possible. So that's really what we're going to be talking about here, is moving where the urgency is not necessarily as high. The difference between the two is that you're going to expose yourself to more danger areas, but the other thing that you have going for you is that the speed at which you're going to be moving can also provide you a small blanket of security. All right, so we're going to start outside with the door scenario where I now find that the door is ajar and I have to make a decision as to whether or not I'm going to go in. So the first thing we talk about is door protocol. And there is a lot that goes into the door. Right now, this right here, this area that we're in, this threshold that we're in is going to make up probably about 70% of your clearance. So first we need to read the door. What kind of door do I have to deal with? Most residential doors are going to have a door that pulls in. All right, so as I'm standing on the outside, this is going to be a push door. How do I know it's a push door? Well, I look for the hinges. Where are the hinges? I can't see them. So they're obviously on the inside, which means that this is a push type door. If I'm on the other side of the door, and we'll give you a view of what that looks like in just a second, and I can see the hinges, I know that I have a pull type door. So those are the two types of doors that I have. Then I can have a position on the door that puts me either on the near side of the knob or far side of the knob. Which is better? Well, the near side means that I don't have to cross the threshold to get to that doorknob to check to see if it's open. The far side means that I can get inside the doorway a little bit quicker. So here's the bottom line. Everything that we're going to be doing is all about measuring the risks and making informed decisions about what's in your best interest at that moment. So maybe it is more valuable for me to go ahead and expose myself in front of this door so that I can get a little bit better perspective of what's behind the door quicker. Or maybe it's better for me to stay behind this frame and try to open the door, minimize my exposure in front of the door. Realize that this whole area is pretty much a danger risk. But one of the things that's nice about this region right in here is that you've got the reinforcement of the door frame. And every home is a little bit different, but sometimes this door frame goes further in. So it's a little bit better standing here than standing here. Recognize that everything on that side is just going to be most likely internal wall structure, which is hollow in sense. All right, so now that I've got my door protocol, the next thing I need to kind of figure out is what's going to be my weapon posture? How am I going to approach this door? Am I going to have my weapon out in my hand? Am I going to first start by kind of opening the door and gaining some information? That's going to be up to you in the situation. The key thing is that if there is any doubt that there could be something bad inside here, you might want to consider, again, is it in my best interest to move inside this threshold, or am I better off calling the police? Make the decision on your own and then act on it. So here I'm going to go ahead and say that it's in my best interest to go ahead and clear this threshold. So I have a couple of options. You can stand at the low ready, which is there's nothing wrong with the low ready position. The low ready from this position means that I'm going to have to cross the threshold to open the door with my weak hand. So the only thing that we have to be mindful of is to make sure that I do not allow the muzzle to cover my hand, which means that I'm going to have to depress that muzzle nice and low to make sure that I can go ahead and work that doorknob. All right, so once we understand weapon posture and where that weapon system is going to go, you have to realize that the weapon system is not going to always be in a fixed position, that the weapon system is going to be moving as I'm moving through the structure so that I can always maintain what we call a 3-eye principle. Eyes, muzzle, and target, or target zone, target area, is always in alignment. Right? That's going to allow me to get the information that I need to make a decision, and then if that decision is deadly force, I'm ready. All right? So the next thing we talk about is what kind of room layout do I have to deal with? Well, I don't know. If I am returning to my home, I'll know the layout. Here, this is not my home. I haven't really been here before. I don't know the exact layout. I can presume to know that this is probably going to be a main room area, but I don't know that for sure, right? So the room layouts are pretty simple in the sense if it's built to code, you're going to see probably one of these 3 configurations. On the far extreme, you might see some differences, but for the most part, you're either going to see a square room, a rectangular room, or a room that combines those two to form an L-shaped room, right? So square room, rectangular room, L-shaped room, you're going to see one of those rooms. And all that really means is that information is going to help you to understand where some of the danger areas could be. Now, the last thing that we talk about is all of that information is going to be helpful in my external clear. So unlike a dynamic entry with a team where I'm having multiple entry points, multiple levels, I've got explosive breach and sniper initiated assaults, all of that stuff working together. I have none of that in this case. So my best bet is going to be to go more into a deliberate type clear where I am moving at a speed that I can process the danger zones in the best way possible. So that means that I'm probably going to start with an external clear. Now, while this door is ajar, it also is not going to fully close. One of the things that we want to make sure that we do is before we start to assume that this door is open, I want to make sure that I can actually work the door and get the door open so that it's not locked. All right? So obviously when I'm coming home to a door ajar, I don't have to worry about that. But if the door was closed and you do need to make entry into this, one of the things you want to make sure is that that door is not secured. So what I'll do is, again, I'll come in here, I'll go ahead and depress my muzzle so that I can get my hand free from the doorknob, and I'll go ahead and open that door, and I want to step back. I want to gain a little bit of distance from that threshold. The first thing that I want to be paying attention to is what do I see directly in front of me? Well, directly in front of me, I just so happen to have a target that I can see. I can see the portion of the target, and as I'm stepping back, I see only a little bit of it. Now, here's where I'm going to talk about angles. Angles are huge. Understanding angles means that you can manipulate the situation to your advantage. So here, if I'm standing right here, I got this much of that target. However, if I take a step back, all of a sudden, I've got even more of that target. All right, so this is where angular deviation becomes to work in your advantage. So trying to clear outside from right here might seem like a good idea, but it is far better for me to start my external clearance from all the way back here. In fact, if I can go further back, that's going to give me more vantage point before I actually have to get into the space. So my external clear is pretty simple. All I'm going to do is I'm going to start from this position right here. And as soon as I've exhausted as much as I possibly can about trying to clear that far corner, that danger zone, because I can see there's a wall there, there's a wall here, I know there's a corner over there. As soon as I can clear that corner, I can now start to move into other spaces, but I might run into a problem where I can't actually see the corner. There's just no way that I can actually step back far enough, or I can't cut that angle enough to where I can see. Okay, I have to recognize that that is an uncleared area as I continue my movement. And I'm just going to kind of work my problem here. One of the things that I'm doing is I'm trying to minimize my exposure as I'm clearing this threshold. So as I minimize my exposure, I'm just kind of taking little bitty steps here, and as I press forward, I gain more vantage point. I reset and I step forward, and I can see that there's an open doorway on the other side of the far wall. So that means that that's opening up into another space, and there's where complications can be, because not only am I having to deal with danger areas in this space, but danger areas in the other space. And as I continue to work the problem, I can see, okay, and I'm going to work the problem until I get all the way to the other side. not always will you be able to visually look through the crack, but take advantage of the crack in the door and looking through the crack. The door obstructs my view for only a small portion. So right here I can see that there's nothing behind the door, and I can still be looking through the crack as I get all the way to this other corner. Again, I can't see the hard corner, so there's 2 danger areas that I have to deal with. All right, so let's do this. Let's go inside and take a look at what it looks like from the viewer's perspective as the target. Again, weapon posture, make sure it's down below the threshold or down below the doorknob here. I'm going to go ahead, take a moment, pause, and then as soon as I'm ready to commit, I'm going to go ahead and work that door, step back. Now, right away, I'm going to go ahead and see a big chunk of that room, and I can see that first vision. I can't necessarily see that hard corner. Now I can see pretty much everything that I can inside that hard corner. So what I'll do now is I'm going to go ahead and start moving across the threshold here. Paul, go ahead and move to the center of the room. All right, so I'm going to just continue to kind of work these angles nice and easy. At this point, I can pick up a target indicator, which is Paul's elbow. So I know that there's probably somebody there. I don't know who they are or what they're doing, so I'm going to go ahead and press forward. At this point, I can actually see both of Paul's hands and recognize that he's holding the camera, so he's not necessarily a threat. Well, it could be a threat depending on how that shot looks, but we'll see. All right, so next, I'm going to have Paul move all the way to the other side of the corner. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to work outside this doorway here. I'm going to use that crack as much as I can to pick up on any threat indicators. And at this point, I can go ahead and see Paul's elbow again. So a little bit of press out. I can see both his hands. They look like they're holding the camera. I'll go ahead and press on. Now, as soon as I reach a point where I can no longer see into the corner, I can't see that hard corner. Right now, this is as much as I can see. Paul, if you can look at the window, I'm sorry, the wall, you'll see my red laser on the wall. So that kind of signifies as far forward. I can maybe squeeze a little bit more out, but this is as far as I can see into the room at this point. So where that point was on the wall was as far as I could see into the space, which means these corners are still danger areas, which means that now I've got to figure out how am I going to get into this space and actually clear those hard corners, because everything else in this space, I mean, luckily there's nothing in here. It's an empty room. Obviously in a residence this probably wouldn't be the case. I mean, maybe in a garage or a workshop, but in most residences this is going to be filled with furniture, oddities, obstructions, so it probably won't be this easy. So right now the best case scenario is that there's nobody in here. And I've visually cleared about 90% of this room by never even coming into the room. But these hard corners are still corners that I have to try to solve somehow. How do I solve that? Well, unfortunately, I can't look in 2 directions. I can't look here and see behind me. So there's going to be kind of like an acknowledgement that in this case, as I cut through this threshold, I'm going to have to put my back to one of these corners for a split second. And then I have to figure out which corner do I want to go to. All right, so most of the time, I'm going to tell you to go to the easier corner first. And in this case, the easier corner, because the door is going to be that one. So I can immediately come in here, I can bust through that threshold, visual clear of that hard corner, and now deal with this. Remember that from where I was outside, I pretty much couldn't see anything from maybe right in here. So there could be a person still standing here. So limited penetration means that I'm only going to penetrate far enough into the space to clear these hard corners, and that's it. I always want to keep in mind, where is my exit? If I come in here and it goes sideways on me in a split second, I need to bail, and I need to be close enough to this doorway to do that. So limited penetration means that I'm literally going to take probably only a single step in. I'm going to punch out, clear this, and now I'm going to step back and clear here. Obviously with the door, I need to step out until I can see that corner. So clearing in this space is going to take a little bit more time and energy. All right, so now we've cleared into this danger area. My next threat is going to be that open doorway leading into the open space. So as I look, I've got a short wall and a long wall. Well, I know that if I work that long wall, I'm going to have a better chance of seeing that hard corner. If I can clear that hard corner from outside the space, I'm going to be much better off. So rather than go to the short wall, I'm going to take the long wall. And as I do, I'm just going to kind of work my way as far over as I possibly can. And right away, I pick up on a target indicator. And this is one of the things that I talk about that is so valuable as as somebody that's trying to clear by yourself, is that you need to be on high alert for any type of target indicator. And in this case, the target indicator is that I can see the wood fairings and the edge of the cardboard. So right away, I'm picking up maybe like the side profile of somebody that's kind of like trying to get close up against the wall, trying to hide against the wall. Right away, I can see maybe their feet, their knees, their legs, their hips, their shoulders. That's huge information, because that information at this point, I stop. I'm not going to keep going. I need to stop, and I need to figure out, what do I want to do? Because that's a person. That's most likely a person. Do they belong in my home? Do they not belong in my home? Now I need to make a choice. What am I going to do? With this information, this is hugely valuable, and in this case, I'm going to decide to continue to pursue and continue to clear my space. So at this point, I know that there's something there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and shift, and I'm going to start to make this like nice little cut here, and I'm going to work and keep working nice and controlled until I can see his other hand. In this case, I could see that he has a threat, and I would engage the target and shoot the target to the ground. And once I'm done, now I need to stop and reflect on what just happened. Okay, well, I just shot somebody that was aiming a gun at me. Could I have given him verbals? Could I have done this? Could I have done that? All of these things have more of a legal context that you would have to kind of like think through beforehand. In this case, as soon as I saw that the suspect had a gun and was pointing at me, just went ahead and responded with deadly force. But now, inside of the space, if they didn't know that I was here, they know I'm here now. So does that change my sense of urgency? Probably. But there's still probably a reason for me to go nice and slow. Remember, never be in a hurry to run into a bullet. So in this case, I might pause for a second. Okay, I just shot somebody in that space. Is there any reason for me to have to go into that space right now? Not really. So I might just hunker down right here and wait. Did he have friends? Do his friends come to his aid? And if his friends are coming to his aid, I'm in a much better tactical position, right? I've got a little bit of cover. I've got my exit right here. I've already drawn my gun. So I have the best advantage at this point. No need for me to rush in there and rush into his friends that are coming from wherever other part of the house they might have been in. So I pause, tactical pause, however long that is, a couple seconds, maybe a little bit longer. If you don't hear any commotion, okay, now we can continue to pursue that open doorway. So again, he wasn't all the way in that hard corner, so that hard corner is not technically cleared. But you got to remember that, all right? You just had a shootout right here. That doesn't mean that you forget that hard corner. So I'm going to still work that hard corner using this angle right here. I get to this position, and I can virtually see there is no way that a human can be right here. So as I'm looking, there is no way that a human can be against that wall. There's just no human that can do that. So I know that that hard corner is pretty much clear. So now the other thing that was fortunate for me was the open door gave me insight into the space. I noticed that there was an obstruction that blocked my view that prevented me from getting a good visual clear. So I have to take that into consideration because somebody could be behind that obstruction. So I'm going to continue to work my angle here. I'm going to work a little bit more. All right, there's that oddity. Okay, I see that oddity. I can't see behind it, so that's a danger area. I'm going to continue to work all the way around. As I work, I continue to work. I see the wall leading up. I shift over, and again, I'm all the way over here. I can see, so here's where, I'm not saying that you have to game it, but here's where you need to take in information. I can see the sofa. I can see the back corner of the sofa. I can see the back corner of the sofa against the wall. So I can presume that that is as far against the wall as it's going to get. It's not going to get any closer. I can assume that no human can be in that. And I can also assume that there's not a human standing on the sofa because I could see it. So I have virtually cleared everything, the hard corner, except for the oddity. All right, so now I get set up. Now how am I going to do this? I'm going to go ahead and just for argument's sakes, let's just say I couldn't see that hard corner. I cleared this one, so now my limited penetration is going to go towards that danger, that known danger area. So I'm going to step in, boom, re-clear, and now I have to deal with this oddity. So let's talk about how to deal with the oddity once you're in the space. So I have two choices here. I can either attack this oddity from this angle, this side, or that side. I'm always going to want to choose distance as my ally. So in this case, going this side would mean I have less distance to deal with. So I'm going to want to go this side. So I'm going to attack this oddity by using the same technique that I would use to deal with the door, an external clear of the door. I'm going to do the exact same thing here. All right, so let's take a look at how that would work. And I just need to kind of envision how I would attack that doorway, right? The first thing that I can see is that there's probably like that first corner right here. This whole corner angle right here. So I'm probably going to work, yep, can't see anything there. And now I'm going to work around. And as I'm working around, I'm gaining more perspective. Now, at a certain point, I need to kind of get up close. I need to start working my angle. I'm working here. I'm working. I'm going to reach a threshold. I'm going to reach a threshold where, all right, I need to either commit or back off. And so all I'm going to do is I'm going to do just a quick little movement that's going to allow me to quickly bust and see that that corner is actually completely clear of any threat, right? So what you'll find is that we spend a lot of time on that external doorway for a good reason. Because once you can recognize that that external doorway is a danger area, and the techniques that we use to solve that problem, like reading the door, limited penetration, knowing where my hard corners are, knowing where the next threat is, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take that information in, and I'm going to process, always moving to the next threat. Where's my next threat? Taking that information, right? We talk about people, portals, and places. So people obviously are the highest threat. If I have people in the room, I have to negotiate and manage the people. The next thing I need to do is portals. Are there doorways? Well, in this case, that first one, I had that doorway right here. So as soon as I had the hard corners cleared, I focused on the open doorway. After that, portals. I'm sorry, places. So this right here represents a place, this oddity right here. So people, portals, places. And this is sort of like a prioritizing manner of dealing with the chaos that you're probably going to find yourself in. People, portals, and places. Each of those kind of descends a little bit in danger as you manage it. People obviously being the greatest threat, then portals lead into other spaces, then places where people could be hiding. These are all kind of like how you address them in a manner that allows you to, number one, not jump ahead of something and miss something, and two, have a system that allows you to address, you have limited bandwidth. You're taking a lot of information on. So this helps to kind of streamline and stay focused on the things that matter most. All right, so this is a very down and dirty, super quick kind of overview, if you will, of solo clearance into spaces. And what I tell people is that, number one, if you don't have to do it, don't. The story that I tell people is that I did a lot of assaults with a team. And I've only had to do 2 entries by myself into spaces and manage them. And one of them happened here in the States, in my own home. The scenario that I talked about in the beginning of the video actually happened to me. Came home from a family outing, front door was wide open. Gave my, at the time, wife some instructions on what to do and how to manage it. She took the kids and they moved to a safe area, and I went ahead and started to prosecute the threat. I got into my home, knew the layout of my home, and within mere seconds, I realized that I was looking at so many danger areas that I could not control. I had things that were in front of me and behind me. I had things that I knew were danger areas, but I had to make a choice as to where I wanted to go. So it was one of the most stressful things that I did because I believed there was somebody in the home. We later found out that one of the other family members had gone out the front door thinking that I was going to follow them and left the door open and blah, 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 blah. So it was harmless. But in my mind, I thought somebody was in the home. And so moving through that space, moving through the spaces that I knew was wickedly stressful. And that's something that you can probably expect as well. So having a system that allows you to manage all of that is going to be in your best interest. All right, would love to hear any questions or comments. If you have a similar story, please feel free to share it down below. Until then, take care and stay safe.